Hello everyone and welcome to another tutorial on Ethereum and smart contracts and Solidity. Today we're going to look at the basics behind minting an ERC20 token. ERC20 is the specification for fungible tokens, so think things like altcoins like Chainlink or Polygon or any of the other altcoins on the Ethereum blockchain. Those are all fungible tokens. So today we are going to look at a couple of different ways of implementing ERC20, and then we're going to play around a little bit with a smart contract, just to give you the basics. So once again, OpenZeppelin provides a really great implementation of ERC20. If you just want something that you're going to put into production, go ahead and use their stuff. You can read more on this page here about what kinds of functions are implemented on the ERC20 interface. But today, I prepared a small smart contract in advance over here in Remix. I think it's this one here. And we're just going to look at some of the code in this really basic contract. Then we're going to deploy this on a test net, and we're going to see how you can transfer tokens in between a couple of different accounts. The goal of this is to give you an understanding of the basics because I want to do videos on more advanced stuff. I want to build a decentralized exchange like Uniswap, and in order to do that, you have to understand the basics of ERC20. So over the next couple of weeks, I am going to do that tutorial series on Uniswap. So look out for that. I also want to do some videos on security as well. I want to cover not only smart contract attacks, but how scam vectors work. For example, rug pulls. There's been some famous rug pulls on regarding altcoins lately, and I think it's important to study these things and understand how they're actually implemented technically. So anyway, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, let's look at this basic token contract here. Again, if you're doing this in production, just go use OpenZeppelin stuff, but basically, to actually look at the inside of an ERC20 token, there's two main things that are stored on the blockchain for the smart contract. The first is this mapping of addresses to UN256s called balances. So when you have an altcoin, you're going to mint some number of them, say 500,000, and people are going to own those altcoins, right? Just like people own, let's use Chainlink for example. Well, the ownership, who owns what percentage of those coins, is maintained by the smart contract. It's stored on the blockchain. Specifically, it's stored using a mapping of addresses, externally owned accounts who, or contracts who hold those tokens, and then the amount of tokens that they hold. This other mapping here called allowances is a mapping of addresses to a mapping of addresses to UN256s. That might sound a little confusing, but when you have a token, let's say that you own 500 Chainlink, you can delegate access to some percentage of your tokens, say 200 of those tokens, to be spent by a different account. Okay, so you might be wondering, why would I ever want to give another account access to my funds? Well, as we're going to see when we implement Uniswap, when we build a decentralized exchange, you have to give the exchange access to your tokens that you want to trade on the exchange. The reason for that is technical. We'll see that when you look into the chain of smart contract calls that happen when you try to swap one token for another, the exchange is making calls on your behalf, and therefore it needs to have access to your funds. Anyway, those are probably the two most important things to understand about an ERC20 token. These other variables here, we have a total supply initially. We give the token a name, we give it a symbol. I don't know if I added a mint function to this. I did not. Total supply is initially set here. There is a mint method. I can type. Yeah, it's also possible to implement a mint method, which allows the owner of the contract to mint more tokens in the future. Controversial, but just know that it is possible. That basically has the effect of incrementing total supply by some amount. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else here is it's not super important to go over. You can get the balance of an address, you can transfer tokens. You can call it transfer from, which is basically transferring on behalf of another address. Again, when we build the decentralized exchange, this is going to come into play. And then the rest here are basically just getters. So what we're going to do is we see our contract is compiling. That's great. We're going to come over here and we're going to deploy it on a test net. Now I'm going to use injected Web 3 because that's a more realistic developer experience. You're actually going to use MetaMask and spend real test tokens as opposed to just using the VM. VM's great for development, but I want to actually give you a more realistic feel. Again, I use MetaMask for this, and for today we're going to be deploying on the Ropsten test network. Note that if you are trying to focus on like scalability, a lot of times people will use a sidechain like Polygon. It's also possible to deploy to the Polygon testnet. You just have to get yourself some Testmatic from one of the faucets. But for today, I'm going to be deploying on Ropsten. And we're going to go over here to our deploy function, and we have to give it 3 parameters, a name, a symbol, and a total. I am going to call this the Cappuccino altcoin. It's going to be worth a lot of money. Its symbol is going to be cap. And the total, we have to give this in way, so it's whatever number of tokens we want to mint times 10 to the 18. So let's mint, let's do 500,000 tokens. So I have to do times 10 to the 18. Silly, but it's what we got to do. Let's transact. And MetaMask is going to pop up asking me to approve this transaction. We're sending a transaction to the blockchain, so we have to pay for it. We're going to pay for it with some test ETH. So I pay for it with some test ETH. We can now view it on Etherscan. Again, fundamentals here. Our transaction is getting sent. We're waiting for a miner to add it to a block and then to find the correct proof of work for that block, and then it'll get added to the chain, and then we'll be happy. And it's taking some time here. So it's really taking some time. Come on, testnet, you can do it. Somebody mine my thing. Cool. All right, so it was successfully mined, and now we have our smart contract, which has been created. You can see here it's a contract creation, and this is the address of our contract. Now, what's cool is we can see down here in the Remix IDE that our contract has been deployed. We can interact with it. And if I come back over to MetaMask, I'm going to go ahead and grab my account. If I come here, balance of, paste my account, and call balance of, we can see that I've got, what was it, 500,000. That's cool, but this isn't really like a great way to see what your balance is. So what we can do in MetaMask is if we come over to assets, you can see I got my Ropsten test ETH and my RugMe token. Like I said, we're gonna look at security later and learn how to defend against rug pulls. But for now, let me copy our smart contract, come back over to MetaMask, and if I go to assets, import tokens, I can paste the address of the smart contract we just created. And you can see it already knows the token symbol is cap, that it's 18 decimals, again, it's in way. And so now I can go ahead and import these tokens, and just like that, within MetaMask, I can see that I have 500,000 Cappuccino tokens. How wonderful is that? Now, the only other thing we're going to look at in this video, because there really isn't much to ERC20 token minting, is I'm going to show you how to transfer some of these tokens to another address. So here, you know, we can specify a receiver and an amount. So you could do this from here within deployed contracts or do it within MetaMask. Just because it's a cleaner UI, I'm going to do this inside of MetaMask. Let me pick one of my other test accounts here. I guess I need to connect it. So I'll copy its address. I'll come back over here, come over to account 1. I'll go ahead and hit send. Send to this guy. And the asset we want to send are cap tokens. Okay, and let's go ahead and send him 500 caps. Hit next. We're going to go ahead and confirm this transaction. Again, this is going to go onto the blockchain, the testnet. It's going to do some stuff. We're going to go ahead and speed it up because why not? None of this is real money anyway. Come on, speed up. But once this finishes, we'll see that our count one, yep, is going to be down to 499,500 cappuccino tokens. And yeah, test account 4, if we go over to assets, I guess we have to come back and import those tokens again. So just for the sake of completeness, let me grab that contracts address, come back over, and for account 4, import tokens, add custom token. Look, we've already got 500 of them. How awesome is that? So that is it for the ERC20 specification. Like I said, it's really, really simple to mint one of these on either Ethereum or on something like Polygon. The contract code is going to be the same. That's just a matter of like which network you choose to deploy it on. In the future, we might look at Optimism, which is a little bit different because Optimism has the OVM, the Optimism virtual machine, which is slightly different than the Ethereum virtual machine. So smart contracts written on the EVM will not always directly translate over to the OVM like they will with Polygon. So we'll look at that a little more in a future video, but that is all for now. Please leave a comment below if there's anything in particular you want to see in these videos. Otherwise, I'll be back with a series on decentralized exchanges shortly. Thank you for watching. Bye.